Where is he?
Where are you? Skull Rock. Do you know it?
Hello, everyone. This is Stacy, reporting from the Skull Rock broadcast. I am joined by...
Hello, everyone. This is Megan. Welcome back to our Stranger Things podcast. And we are recording today on the 27th. So it is season 4 day, basically. It's been 2 years since season 4 was released. No, I can't believe it, because where did the time go?
It's crazy to think that it's been 2 years, because I remember I had work that day and I stayed off the internet. And then I literally ran to Domino's, bought one of those retro pizzas, came home, inhaled the disgusting pizza. And I'm a garbage pizza gal, but that was really bad. And I ended up throwing it up the next day. But, that has nothing to do with the story. But I remember I watched the first 5.5, 6 episodes. And then finally I had to go to bed. I finished the rest the next day. But I just remember thinking to myself, wow, the wait was worth it. And this is back when I referred to Eddie as the drug dealer.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, the drug dealer's been through it. And I loved everything about it. But it's just so surreal to think that it's been 2 years, because I did make a post on my Instagram about how much this show has meant to us since then. Not only this podcast, but the friendships, the experiences, our collections, our memories. So huge deal. I think season 4 was what really cemented it for us.
Yeah, absolutely. It was kind of not the same for me. So I wasn't really keeping track of things before season 4 came out.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of a very casual fan, was excited for when all of the seasons came out. But I remember maybe a little bit earlier in the year when the trailer came out, I was like, oh my gosh, it's finally coming out. It's been such a long time, because it was such a long time in between 3 and 4. And I was excited about the trailer. And then again, wasn't really keeping track of anything. Came home from work one day. I think it was the Monday or Tuesday right after it came out. Because was it a Monday that it came out?
Came out on a Friday.
Oh, so yeah, it was probably actually the Monday or Tuesday after the weekend that it came out.
Mm-hmm.
So I came home from work, sat down, was like, oh, let me watch something while I eat dinner. And I was like, oh, Stranger Things is out. I didn't even have a countdown or anything.
What a pleasant surprise. Yeah.
I was like, and I literally watched just an episode every night for the next week after that.
Oh,
I didn't watch them. Yeah, I didn't watch them all at one time. Maybe 1 or 2 per night, because I think I finished it before the weekend. And obviously I was just I couldn't shut up about it. I went to work and was talking about it with the kids at school, and I was telling my parents and telling my friends, have you watched it yet? Have you watched it yet? It just flipped the switch in my mind, season 4, because I was such a casual fan before that. And season 4 just blew my mind. And I wasn't counting down or looking forward to it. I wasn't keeping track, and completely the opposite now, obviously. But yeah, super grateful for that, because it's been such a fun 2 years being a part of the community, and all of you listening. We're happy that we've been able to connect with you. So yeah, super fun, and can't believe it's been 2 years. But also it seems like it's been forever at the same time.
Doesn't it? Yeah.
I don't know what time is.
What is time? Time is a flat circle. Little True Detective reference there. Yeah.
I loved True Detective, this first season.
Yeah. We don't talk about the other ones.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, how have you been? You had a fun weekend, huh?
I've been good. Yep. Nice long Memorial Day weekend. My friends Brandy and her husband Andy came to visit, which was lovely. And I'll mention it in the merch segment. She got me a really cool piece of Stranger Things merch that I had never even heard of, which, with me, that's kind of a rarity. But we had a lot of fun. I showed her another episode of Fargo, and she's intrigued now. But yeah, just kind of chilling out and counting down the days till the end of the school year. What about yourself?
Yeah, same. I just kind of relaxed this weekend. super excited that we're recording today on season 4 day, but we are also very excited to get back into our rewatch of season 1. And I can't believe we're getting close to the end.
Which is insane.
Yeah, so we're on episode 6 out of 8.
Yep.
There's 8 this season, right? It's season 2 and season 4 that have 9.
I believe
Is that correct?
So. Yep.
Yeah. Season 1, episode 6, The Monster.
The Monster.
So, how did you feel about this episode?
So I ended up actually watching it with my good friend Jeanette, that you know, and I was like, just in case if you pick up on anything I'm not picking up on, because I'm not feeling 100%. My allergies are killing me. So I was like, just keep an eye open. So we did the whole press play at the same time, and we watched it this morning. And I thought, because right away I forgot how the last episode ended. So I like that it picks up a lot like the episode with Barb immediately right after. And
I was thinking the exact same thing. Yeah.
So good. And Jonathan is looking for Nancy. He's got his flashlight. He's screaming for her. And he can kind of hear her because she's screaming for him. But she's in the upside down.
Right. And I always get so intrigued by like who can hear who from the upside down and the real world. But like, I think kind of like was different because there was a portal there. So it was almost like the portal that Will and Joyce talked through. So I guess some of the sound was like bleeding through from that portal too. But I was like, who can hear who? Why?
Yeah.
Like
what is going on?
I always want to know the mechanics of it. Jonathan and Nancy are trying to find each other in the woods. Nancy sees the Demogorgon. It's terrifying.
That thing is so scary.
I liked the visual of Nancy's hand reaching through.
Cool.
Right?
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
That gave me poltergeist vibes. Just really, really cool. And I don't know, it's just like that's such body horror too, you know, just seeing a hand go through something sticky and disgusting. And of course, there's that iconic shot of her after, you know, the Demogorgon sees her leaning against the tree, looking scared to death. But Jonathan is able to pull her out, and she's covered in shit and slime. And
like Poltergeist.
Like Poltergeist. And I love that when Jonathan looks, the gate's closing and the bark is kind of covering up the little mini gate that there was.
It's like, what keeps it open? Is it because the Demogorgon is like getting a certain distance away from it? Like, and it stays open while the Demogorgon is close to it? I don't think we ever really found out how the Demogorgon is able to make these little mini gates.
Yeah.
And like, why doesn't that continue to happen? We're trying to start learning it more about the Demogorgon in this episode, which is like called the monster, but then we have that like double meaning of is Elle the monster?
I love the opening credits. Of course, you got to watch the credits. And I had no idea that this was the next scene right after.
Yeah.
And it's Steve, Carol, and Tommy, and they're listening to Corey Hart's I Wear My Sunglasses at Night.
So
let's see if you dug into this. Let me see.
Well, the thing that it made me think of was when the Duffers started sharing things about filming starting in Atlanta.
Yep.
They shared these little like signs, and the one that was like Team Steve had a QR code. They all had QR codes on them for the music. And the QR code led you to this song for Steve.
Which I'm like, oh, is this like Steve's signature song? And it's
is it like something that's going to be important in season 5, like about this scene?
Yeah, maybe.
Like, is it something that's going to come back based on this scene?
Could you imagine? Because I'm always somebody going back from the past, and we know that probably time or time travel is going to be something, a theme. And one thing I liked about Back to the Future too was you saw scenes, but in a different point of view of a different character. So for all we know, somebody could be like in the woods and they see Steve's Beamer go by with that song.
Blaring that song.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool. And the only thing I know about Corey Hart is he was kind of a one-hit wonder, but
Mm.
his music was actually featured in season 3. It's the song that Mike sings serenades to 11 at the beginning, the opening scene when they're making out. So Corey Hart
Oh,
actually
huh.
tested for the role of Marty McFly in Back to the Future.
Nuh-uh. Ooh,
Yep.
that gave me chills.
Right? And I'm like, man, if they had a Joe Keery back then, yep, they're Marty McFly coded. But
Yeah.
Jeanette was so funny right away. She was like, "Have you listened to the lyrics?" And I went, "No." So she sent me a few of them, and it says, "Don't switch the blade on the guy in the shades. Oh no, don't be afraid of the guy in the shades." And I'm like, "What does that have to do with anything?" And then she said, "Oh, there's a whole part of the, let me see if I can find it. While she's deceiving me, it cuts my security. Has she got control of me? I turn to her and say," and then that's the whole like, "Don't switch the blade on the guy in the shades." So it's about a girl deceiving a guy. So I was like,
Yeah,
oh shit, okay. And
that makes sense.
I don't know if you agree with me, but like I do love that Steve is like, something was wrong. That little
Yeah,
interaction.
no, the whole thing, like, he's such a sweetheart is what I keep saying, like,
Yep.
even in this season, he's like, "Something's wrong." He could tell that something
Hmm.
was wrong. She was acting strange,
Not
like,
herself. Yep.
yeah, and I mean, isn't that a good thing that he wants to go check on her and make sure she's okay?
This is
Like,
just such shitty timing, and of course,
yeah,
Tommy and Carol, they do such a good job playing assholes because 'cause they're teasing him, being like, "Oh,
yeah,
Stevie's in love," and then if you hear Tommy, he makes a comment being like, "Oh, this is the princess's castle," and Steve climbs up, his usual, like a ninja.
yeah, and his cute little run, like, pulling his shirt down, like, it was so
So
adorable.
adorable to that music, and it's such shitty timing because I don't know about anybody else, but that did not look good. Mind you, they were just sitting on the bed, and Jonathan was comforting her, putting his arm around her, but that
Yeah,
doesn't look good, and just Joe Keery's acting, not only does he look upset and pissed, but he looks heartbroken, and, like,
yeah,
any hothead would have started banging on the window and caused a fight then and there. But
yeah,
instead, he didn't do anything,
yeah.
and that stung because 'cause we're team Steve.
So we cut to Hopper and Joyce. So Hopper is filling Joyce in about what he found at the lab. So he had gone into the room that had the stick figure drawing, and this is the part that we talked about a little bit last episode
Yep.
where she's like, "Well, was it good?" And he's like, "What do
Mhm.
you mean? It was like a kid's drawing. It was stick figures." And she shows him the picture that Will did with like the fireballs that look like cabbages. And
Yep.
she's like, "It wasn't Will because like she knows that like it was Will is a good artist. He's
Yep.
not a stick figure artist." And that's when they make the connection that there's probably another kid involved here.
Yep.
And Hopper is such a good detective. He puts together the pieces of like the girl that was at Benny's
Mhm.
and the girl that's missing that was Terry Ives's daughter. Like,
Yep.
so he puts together all these pieces of like the different things, the different threads that he's been like investigating. And he realizes, like, oh, we've been like tracking down some other kid.
Yep. And I thought total chills moment there.
Yeah. Yeah.
This next part killed me because right away Jeanette goes, "I thought that was Eddie in the shower." And I went, "Listen, we're not gonna talk about it, but Steve Harrington has a type."
Exactly.
So Nancy's trying to clean up because she's covered in slime and shit, and
Yeah.
she's getting like flashbacks of the freaking Demogorgon.
Yeah.
And I love that Jonathan is going to be spending the night. He's kind of like trying to make a little bed for himself on the ground. And I do love that she comes in. He's like, "Do you feel better?" And she's like, "Yeah." And she just looks so freaked out like a little kid. And I love the awkwardness of her finally being like, "Will you just come up here?" And it's not sexual, it's not romantic. She just wants comfort. And they're
Yeah.
not even touching. And I do always love this line of him laying beside her going, "You do know it can't get you in here." And she looks scared to death and she goes, "You don't know that."
Yeah. They're both terrified. You can tell they're both terrified. And I feel like Natalia, again, I have to like she did such a great job with that shower scene, with
Yeah.
this scene. Like her emotion is just like so like apparent. Like, you can just feel her emotion in those
Yeah.
scenes and how scared she is. He has like the gun like under the pillow. Like,
Yeah.
he's scared too. He's literally like clutching the gun. Like, they're both, you know, traumatized from that experience. We go to Mike's basement.
The next day. Yeah.
Mike is kicking down the blanket fort.
He's
He's
upset.
very upset. Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot going on, and I think he's kicking himself now, especially with what happened with 11. And I do love, and you do see it in every basement scene, but I really pointed it out that there is a poster of John Carpenter's The Thing, which actually is featured later on when Mr. Clark and his lady friend are watching it. And definitely, I don't think you would like it.
Yeah, I wanted you to tell me about it though, because I clocked that poster too in a lot of the scenes and I didn't know what it was. So I like, you know, reverse Google image searched it. So I knew that it was The Thing. Nancy's, one of her lines in one of the next scenes was like, every time I closed my eyes, I just kept seeing that thing. Like, so she, like, it was kind of like making the connection of like the monster.
The monster, The Thing. Yeah. The Thing is, it was a remake of a 50s movie from Howard Hawks called A Thing from Another World. Very hokey, very ugh. But John Carpenter, he ended up remaking it. And it is, there are probably 10 movies I can say are flawless from beginning to end. The only reason I don't think you would like it is because it is that graphic and gross.
Yeah.
Maybe you could, who knows? But he made it into a body horror movie where it's, I want to say like 12 men in Antarctica. They're at a research place. And at the very beginning of the film, there is two men that arrive in a helicopter shooting at a dog, and they're speaking Norwegian. And later on, you find out that one of them was saying, get away from that dog. It's not a dog. It's something imitating a dog. And accidentally, the two men end up getting killed. And they just think, wow, these guys were fucking crazy. And they take the dog in. And they end up going back to the base. They take their helicopter and they find everyone is completely slaughtered.
Ugh.
And they
that
are
doesn't sound like something I want to watch.
Yeah, you would not like it, but they are out of radio contact for like the next 6 months. And you find out that the dog is actually this alien creature that the Norwegian scientific site dug up out of the ice, that it crash landed millions of years ago. They found it in the ice. They dug it up. It thawed out. It woke up. And it has the ability of basically replicating whoever it kills. And it looks exactly like them. And its basically main goal is to take over everybody. So Kurt Russell's in it. He's amazing. He plays the helicopter pilot. And it just shows this sense of isolation and this sense of paranoia because you don't know who is the thing, because they sound like your friend, they look like your friend, but you have no idea. And it slowly takes over them one by one.
Yeah.
And it's got some of the most fantastic special effects. Rob Bottin, that did the Howling effects, did it. And it's incredible. But unfortunately, at the time in the 80s, it became more of a cult classic. It did not do well in theaters. And fun little trivia, John Carpenter was actually set to make Firestarter. He was supposed to direct it with Heather O'Rourke from Poltergeist, who was going to play Charlie. And since that movie bombed so bad in theaters because it was right around the time of E.T., nobody wanted a mean alien. People wanted nice aliens. So Universal basically canned John Carpenter and they revamped the entire thing. So I always thought that was really interesting. But it's a movie that they bring up again in season 3. It's a movie that clearly kids like that would really like because that was a big deal at the time. So I think it goes along with the theme of the monster. And like you said, like, you know, they're in this movie, The Thing, they're not really too sure what it even is. And much like these people, unless you work for the lab, they don't know what this Demogorgon is. They don't know what, I mean, mind you, later on, they do figure out kind of what attracts it, but they don't know how to kill it, how to go about it, what's even its main purpose. And what Nancy and Jonathan do find out in a few scenes from now, that it is a predator. So I found that very, very interesting. But like I said, if you get squeamish, avoid that movie at all costs.
Yeah. No.
You're like, I'm all set.
I'll just go with your description. I'm glad to know about it. I'm good.
Good.
But I also thought that it was kind of like when Mike knocks down this blanket fort. It was almost similar to when, I think it's in season 2 or 3, that
Season
when
3.
Will goes and knocks down Castle Byers,
Yep.
which I think is gonna, like, be a little bit more of an emotion, like, it's already an emotional scene, but, like, whatever we end up getting in season 5, we know we're gonna get more Castle Byers, so
Yep.
that's gonna be, like, even harder to watch, I think, after season 5. Hopper is at a payphone out in the middle of nowhere, and he has called in a favor and uses some connections that he has to get information about Terry Ives. So he gets their address and heads there. And then I told you that so many scenes with Jonathan are just him, like, waking up. Like,
That's
this
it.
guy is always sleeping.
He's always waking up, man.
So he's waking up in Nancy's bed. And they start kind of, like, talking about, like, a plan here. So, you know how I said I did the reverse image search for the Thing poster?
Yeah.
I was, like, determined to figure out what books she was looking
Look
at.
at you.
Because I was like, where did she get these books? Like,
Yeah.
because she's got, like, picture books that she's researching, like,
It
predators.
shows predators. Yeah.
Yeah,
That in your bookcase, Nancy
Yeah.
Wheeler.
And I was like, I did have, as a kid, my parents got us, like, these, like, it was like the World Book Encyclopedia, but for, like, kids. And I was like, is that what those are? Because it was, like, pictures like that and everything. So I was trying to figure out if that's what it was. I did find the exact book.
Oh my God, you were good.
For the one with the lion on it. I didn't find the shark one. Somebody's selling it on Etsy in case you want to buy it.
Damn, that'll go into the collection, man.
But it's the How and Why Wonder Book of Wild Animals. But yeah, so she's, going down, like, a little rabbit hole trying to research, like, predators and stuff to try to figure out what they can do to sort of take on this monster.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting how she's like, it's kind of like always alone, like a bear, but then she makes the connection to, like, sharks that can smell blood.
Yep. Very
Which that
Jaws
picture,
coded.
yeah, that's what I was thinking with Jaws, with the picture of the shark.
And I like that they realized that the monster, was attracted to the scent of blood like a lion or a shark. And I do love that Karen doesn't knock clearly and is like, Nancy, breakfast. And they both kind of, like, jump. And I love that Jonathan goes, oh, your mom doesn't knock
Exactly.
either. So that was pretty funny. I was like, that's hilarious.
This awful woman who is, like, the worse than Dr. Brenner, I
She
think.
really is. Yeah.
Because she's the one that shot Benny point blank in the head. And she shows up at Mr. Clark's house with this, like, Indiana AV Club pamphlet, which she's obviously just trying to get the information about the kids and their addresses from Mr. Clark. And this is where I said last episode, the principal, like, name drops Mr. Clark.
Yep.
And that's how they found out that they should go to him for the information.
Trying to get the list of the non-athletic kids,
Yeah, exactly. And I love that he's just in his house, like, listening to classical music.
Yep. Like any teacher would be, And then I love that when he's on summer break in season 3, he's listening to Weird Al. So, guys, if you need a glimpse in a school teacher's life, that's it.
So Dustin bikes to Mike's house. Yeah. And Mike is, expressing his frustration about Elle not coming back. He's stressed out. And I laughed out loud when Dustin's like, Mike, this isn't your fault. And Mike's like, I know, it's Lucas's fault.
That killed me. And I love that Dustin is just trying to be the keeper of the peace. And then he's like, you guys acted like a bunch of little assholes. Dustin will tell you how it is. And I love that he goes, you drew first blood. You need to shake his hand. It's the rule of law.
Or he'll be banished.
Or he'll be banished. So using some D&D lingo. So I really like that he's kind of just being like, you have to fucking smarten up here. So Dustin is just being adorable and kind of saying it how it should be. Now, you're going to need to help me out with this little flashback with Papa because I was blowing my nose and not paying attention. But Jeanette goes, now, how many times have I rewatched this season? Jeanette goes, was Papa bringing her a plant? I go, what? And she goes, it looks like a plant.
Yeah.
Was it a plant?
It was. It was like a little flower.
Yeah, Jeanette, if you can hear me, you brought her a plant. You were right. I was like, no, he effing didn't.
It's her room that Hopper had found in the lab because the picture is up on the wall. Yeah. She's holding her little lion. I guess it is a lion. I feel like last time we were not sure if it was a lion or a tiger, but like it's definitely a lion that she's holding. Brenner comes in and gives her a potted plant.
I cannot. I'm done.
Which, I mean, I guess it was just, to brighten up her day. Listen, he thought she would like it.
When somebody gets traumatized, you bring him a plant.
Yeah. So that was weird. Like, maybe it has a deeper meaning. I don't know. We should look up, like, what kind of plant it was.
Yeah, there we go.
But he tells her that today they're going to make history, that they're going to make contact. And he, like, boops her on the nose.
oh, bitch. Brought me a shitting plant and you're booping me on the nose, you dick.
Yeah, I hate him. I hate him so much.
It's so bad.
And then she wakes up in the woods. So obviously, poor little girl slept in the woods.
Looking a little worse for wear, yeah.
This was an intense scene too. It's where she like walks over to like the little puddle or lake. She's like looking at her reflection. Yes. She puts the wig on, looks at her reflection, tears it off, and then she screams. Yeah. Just like so much emotion.
She's going through it. It's like any girl that tries a new hairstyle and is like, I'm gonna look really great as a blonde, and then you realize how it really looks. You have a moment. So Levin, you're one of us. So at breakfast, Karen's feeding some delicious-looking pancakes to Holly, and Ted kind of notices that, like, Nancy isn't coming down, so she goes to check. And I love that she can pick a freaking lock with a bobby pin.
Yeah. Maybe there's more to her than we know.
We don't know, man.
More to Karen than meets the eye. I'm calling it.
Yep. Right here, right now, May 27th, 2024, Meghan is calling it. So she ends up going in, and do you know what song was playing?
No.
We're going to have to look that up. I'm going to have to Shazam it because I was like, oh, that sounds cool. But I love that they left the sleeping bag and the pillow on the ground.
Like, so she knew somebody spent the night, which I was like, guys, clean up after yourself.
Yeah, like come on, idiots. So I do love that. And then they arrive with Dustin and Mike to Lucas's, and just Mike's half-assed apology and just tries to shake his hand and stuff. And he makes a Star Wars reference, doesn't he? Something about fighting Darth Vader.
Yeah, I liked how Dustin was talking more about like D&D also and their campaign. They were like, he was like, don't you remember what happened? I forget what it was called, but like when we tried to split up, things went to shit. Like we need to stick together because Lucas doesn't want to go look for Elle. He just wants to go straight to the gate, forget about her. And obviously Mike wants to go look for her first. And Mike, it's like, Mike, this isn't a good look for you. But he's like, we need Elle. She's a weapon. And he's like, you can't fight the Demogorgon with your wrist rocket. And that would be like R2-D2 going to fight Darth Vader.
I cannot. Goodbye.
So many Star Wars references this season. I love it. You're supposed to believe that like he does care more about her than he's coming across, but he's just trying to convince Lucas that that's a good reason to look for her first.
And also he's 12. He's being a 12-year-old, you know?
Yeah. The next scene is pretty iconic.
I love that. Which is the supermarket a part of Jackson?
It's not in Jackson, but I went, so we can definitely go.
That's amazing.
They have like the Eggos in that exact spot in the store, so you can like go in and take your picture.
I can't wait.
It's awesome. Yeah. So we can go to Bradley's Big Buy, which is where 11 goes to the store in town. And before we get the iconic scene, of her stealing the Eggos. She does have another flashback. So this is again where he's like, we're going to make history. He tells her not to run away because whatever it is wants her and it's reaching out to her. So he wants her to find it.
Interesting.
He's like, don't turn away from it this time.
Knowing what we know now.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Brenner, it was not a great idea.
Yeah.
So then she steals the Eggos from the store.
I love that she calls the manager a mouth breather.
Yeah.
And
I like mouth that line with her this time. I was like,
good. I love that the staff is like, what should we do?
He's like, call the police.
So good. Now, because the next scene after she walks away, like smashes the, front windows, which is iconic. What is Eleven's aunt's name?
It's Terry Ives is her mom. So let's see. Terry Ives' sister. Becky. Aunt Becky.
Aunt Becky. So I like that Joyce and Hopper arrive at Becky Ives' house. And here they find out that Terry is basically a vegetable. And I found this very, very interesting. And in a few scenes, we're going to get into it about how she talks about kind of what her sister was involved in. But Terry is kind of in a catatonic state, kind of sitting there. And Jeanette pointed out, she was like, oh, her nightgown kind of looks like one of the dresses from The Shining, which, I didn't even clock that. I was like, okay. But it's a little heartbreaking because Joyce was kind of hoping to get some answers and it's kind of a dead end. But luckily, Becky knows a little bit more than what's going on. But I love that the next scene is Lucas packing up and he's putting on his bandana from Nam. And he puts his stuff in his backpack and then he leaves his house. And I love that he sees the power lines guy.
Yeah.
And they awkwardly wave to each other.
Yeah. I thought that was hilarious.
But so good.
This is when I watched Lost Boys, like,
yes,
and they're like gearing up, like, I think that's like what Lucas is kind of supposed to look like a little bit. Also, Robin in season 4 when she wears like the beret.
Oh, big time. Yep.
But yeah, I just thought that was a fun connection when I saw that movie. I was like, oh yeah, this is very.
It's all coming back. Yep.
Yeah. He does notice the guy in the van, which is going to be important later.
Yeah.
But he bikes off and then Mike and Dustin are also biking. And this is like one of my favorite scenes.
Thank you. I love this scene because this is wisdom beyond these two boys.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How does Dustin start off the conversation?
Dustin is saying that he kind of feels bad for Mike because he knows like Lucas is his best friend. And he feels like, that they've kind of, this is like coming between them. And that he thinks that Lucas sees Mike have this girl come in and like, he's so focused on this girl and kind of feels
threatened.
Yeah, threatened in their relationship because of Mike's focus on Elle.
I love that Mike goes like, that's bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can have more than one best friend.
And Dustin argues with him. He's like, no. Yep. And he's like, on what basis? And Dustin's like, on logic. Like, I get it, what he's saying. Like, if it's your best, that's like number one. But Mike is like, that's bullshit. You can have more than one best friend.
Yeah,
you're
my best friend. Will's my best friend.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's something that like even adults need to know, that you can have more than one best friend in different ways, So I do love that the Duffer Brothers had that kind of like moment of, the fast-paced action and unraveling of them just talking and having this moment.
Yeah.
But the scene after, I love that they ride by and they kind of see the aftermath of the supermarket. Like, obviously, like, something has happened and they just keep biking along. They kind of know something's not right.
Dustin's like, do you think? And Mike's like, yeah. Like, they know that Elle was there.
Let's put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah.
But the next scene I really liked, and this is why I love that you went and saw Firestarter finally, because the way Becky is talking about what her sister was involved in, that they would do LSD and they'd go in these sensory deprivation tanks. and they would do these experiments on these college kids, and she didn't know she was pregnant at the time. And I love that she goes, "Do you read any Stephen King?" And, I just love that basically it's Stephen King's Firestarter coded that, these scientists either were planning on engineering these children, which maybe we'll find out in season 5, or they had no idea. And I do love that they're like, "Well, are there any photos of Jane," which is supposed to be 11, Terry's daughter? And she's like, "I don't think you understand. She miscarried in the 3rd trimester." And I love that they bring her into the nursery and it's left exactly as it was, waiting for the baby. And she
Yeah.
goes, she's waiting almost like a fairy tale for her, all these years, 12 years, that her daughter will come back. And obviously, before what happened to her, she was convinced that, her daughter is being engineered and used as a weapon, that she was going to have these abilities. And I love that it keeps intercutting to scenes of 11. That gave me chills.
Yeah, no, that scene for sure was like one of the best ones in this episode, I think, because it was like you're in the nursery, the mobile is going like with this like creepy music,
Yep.
like kids music, and then
Clowns.
cutting from like what Becky is saying to like the things that are actually have been happening, and the fact that like Terry was right about everything. I did wonder how Terry knew that Elle was born with psychic abilities.
That's what makes me wonder. Like, Terry, I think, may have known more of what was going on in the lab because it seemed like she was very close with Bremer. And I mean, you and I have our own theories that Henry could possibly be her father. But at the same time, I think as of right now, they're trying to make you believe that either she was pregnant beforehand, because I know in one of the spinoff books, she did have a husband or fiance that was killed in Vietnam. And that's supposed to be her father, Jane's father. But with all the news clippings of them walking together and stuff, you're kind of supposed to assume that maybe Bremer's her father. But it makes you wonder, how did she know? Did she know more experimenting was going on than the testing that they were doing? So it's definitely left to interpretation, but it gives you chills because you realize, like, holy shit, like that's actually kind of discouraging that this horrible thing has happened. And then we see Lucas, he's in the woods, he's pushing his bike along, but the compass on his bike is going batshit. And he's seeing the huge fence that's kind of like a huge perimeter of the Department of Energy, aka the lab.
Yeah.
And I love the transition to the next scene. It's playing the music of the gun store, the weapon store. And at first, Jeanette went, "Is this the store from season 4?" And I went, "Oh, no, that's not Warzone." I go, "I think this was a casualty of the Starcourt Mall. I think it was one of the small businesses that shut down."
Yeah. Dolly Parton was on in the store.
Was it really?
Yeah, it was called The Bargain Store by Dolly Parton is the song that's playing.
I love Dolly. I love that.
But yeah, they're shopping at this store in town, and I love the store attendant just like going through all the stuff and asking them like, "What are you guys doing with all this stuff?"
And I love how he's fine with the answer that Nancy gives, monster hunting. He's just like, "Oh, okay." And I really like that they buy gasoline, they buy a bear trap, they kind of like, they're trying to set a trap for the Demogorgon, and they go out to Jonathan's car. And I love how she kind of like laughs at what like a difference a week makes. That the week before she spent all Saturday shopping for a blouse, which if it was that striped blouse she wore the night of the party, I approve. With Barb trying to find a blouse that, Steve would like. And now here she is, buying monster hunting equipment and hunting monsters with Jonathan. So it's a cute little moment between the two. And then didn't you say that this guy, this extra that rides by, isn't he somebody?
Yeah. So the guy, I definitely have said this on the podcast before, but the guy who rides by in the car while Jonathan and Nancy are having this conversation and is like, the car beeps and the guy's like, "Hey, Nance, can't wait to see your movie," which we find out why he said that. But it's Chase Stokes who plays John B in Outer Banks.
Oh, okay.
So he actually, I think, auditioned for Steve Harrington, but ended up getting, John B in the Outer Banks. So he has his own Netflix show.
It all
But
worked out. Yeah.
yeah,
So what does Nancy see? Because right away she's like, oh no, she seems to know almost instantly.
yeah. So she runs towards the movie theater and she sees the graffiti that's written on the movie theater. And the billboard of the movie theater said All the Right Moves because that's the movie that was playing. And then they wrote
On the marquee.
Yeah, the marquee, starring Nancy the Slut Wheeler.
Oh, damn.
Okay, so this is like my thoughts about this. Tommy wrote that, right?
Yes, because Steve mentions it in the next episode. I should have shoved that spray paint can down your throat. And he's like, well, you weren't stopping me.
Yeah, so Tommy did it, and it wasn't Steve. And they're assholes, like we said. Tommy and Carol are jerks, but
Yeah.
they do care about Steve.
Yeah, this was them coming to his defense.
Yeah, this was them trying to like come to his defense, make him feel better. She hears them, and actually I've been here and you'll go here. So it is right around the corner. Like,
I can't wait.
So down the alley, right behind the movie theater, she hears them. So she goes down the alley and sees Steve, and Tommy and Carol are there. And what's the other girl's name? Nicole, yes. So they get into the fight. I think this is a really well done scene also.
Yes.
Like, it's a very cool fight scene. Something that has stuck out, because I've been rewatching this scene a couple times lately, again, about Carol and Tommy, is Carol like says to Tommy, get in there, he's gonna hurt himself. Like, talking about Steve, like they like do know that Steve's not a fighter. Like,
he's a lover, he's not a fighter. Okay.
So, and then Tommy does, to his credit, try to get in there,
break it up,
and Steve shoves him out of the way and is like, get out of here. And they continue to go at it, and then Jonathan's just like, well, and I mean, we should say that Steve said some awful things. This is like his absolute lowest point.
Yeah, this is back probably when he was originally going on his original narrative of being the villain, jock, asshole boyfriend.
Yeah.
And like, yes, you see where he's coming from. He was hurt. I do love that he's like, say it, Nancy, say it. You were just studying. And of course, they got Tommy and Carol riling him up and stuff. And he says some horrible stuff about Joyce. He says a slur to, Jonathan and stuff, which I love in all the fanfics later on that haunts the shit out of him. And he does make it better with the camera and the apologizing later.
I mean, and you can tell as soon as this like in the next episode and the one after that,
he's beating himself up.
He is beating himself up about saying that a little bit.
He looks, even in the next episode when he's, putting the, the Coca-Cola up against his busted up face, he looks really like, shit, what did I do? He let his emotions get the best of him. And they get into a fight, and it's set to Tangerine Dream, who did the soundtrack of Firestarter, Exit, and it's a really good soundtrack. And it's just a really well choreographed fight, because you actually see a side of Jonathan. He has had enough. He has been through enough, and he loses his mind. And even Tommy says at one point, as he's like beating in Steve's face, like, all right, come on, man, he's had enough. He's had enough.
Yeah, exactly.
And then conveniently, Powell and Callahan show up, and
they're the best.
It's a clusterfuck, and Tommy runs away with Steve and the girls, and Jonathan, accidentally takes a swing at Callahan, and he gets arrested and brought in. And I just think that, like we said, it was the lowest point for Steve, but from this point onward, it's just uphill from there.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That's how you got to look at it. We cut back to Joyce and Hopper. They're getting into their car after visiting with Becky and Terry. And Joyce is kind of defeated because she's like, 12 years, Hopper, 12 years. This woman never found her daughter. What if this happens with Will? And Hopper's called in over the radio about there being a fight, and they drop Jonathan's name. And right away, Joyce is like, what? So I do like that they're called in. They know that something happened with Jonathan.
Yeah. So like you said, Joyce is very distraught about the fact that Terry didn't find her daughter for 12 years, but Hopper's like, yeah, but we know that her daughter is alive, basically. Like,
Yep.
so there's a chance. Like, do you know what I would give for there to be a chance?
That moment that gave me goosebumps.
Yeah.
Because here is somebody who has suffered the ultimate loss and they're saying it, you know, and it is true. You would do anything for another chance. So I like that he's kind of keeping the fight going with Joyce, you know?
Yeah. Trying to, like, tell her that it's not like a hopeless situation.
Hmm.
But they do go to the police station where Nancy is kind of like comforting Jonathan and gets him some ice. So Flo gets
Oh,
the
Flo.
ice out, and she's the one who says, because Nancy's like, when are they going to let us go or let him
Yeah.
go? And Flo's like, you and your boyfriend have big plans.
Yeah.
And she's like, he's not my boyfriend. And this is like Flo wisdom.
Low wisdom. I like that. Only love will make you that crazy. I'm
and
like,
that
yep.
and that damn stupid.
Yep. It's beautiful. And I like that she's sitting there putting the ice on him. And then we cut to 11. She is eating those Eggos cold, baby. And then you hear further in the woods, Mike and Dustin are screaming, looking for 11. It cuts for a millisecond to Lucas, and he kind of like shimmies up a tree that kind of is like leaning over one of the fences. He's using his binoculars, which we do see these binoculars again in action further down the series. And he's looking to see into the lab.
Yeah. And well, he realizes that the gate that he's looking for is inside this fence, because he like follows it along the fence, and then when he gets to the corner, it directs itself back to
Yeah.
inside the gate. So he realizes, oh shit, like I'm trying to get to this gate. It's inside this fence. So he shimmies up the tree. So he sees the vans, a whole bunch of the vans, the Hawkins power vans,
Yeah.
and makes that connection that the van that was sitting outside Mike's house was one of these vans.
They were the bad guys. Yep. It gives him that connection. And then we cut back to Dustin and Mike, who are pushing their bikes along.
Well, they're at this point, they're getting chased by the bullies.
Yes, I forgot to mention that right
Yeah.
before the Lucas scene. The bullies, they appear out of nowhere. And I love that Dustin, he's the voice of reason. He just dumps the bike and runs.
Yeah.
So poor Mike and Dustin are being chased, and they get chased to the quarry.
Yeah.
And this is, I think we both agree, this is one of the best scenes.
Yeah.
In
the
not
whole
only this
show.
season, but the whole show.
Yeah, exactly. So I did figure out the second bully's name. It's Troy and James.
Troy and James.
Yes. So I only know from the subtitles. They're trying to get revenge for when Elle made him pee his pants. Like,
Yes.
they're like, I know you did something. Like, what did you do? And I mean, Dustin tells him exactly what happened.
Squeeze your tiny bladder. Yep.
He's got his blade,
Which
at Dustin's throat, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. Saying that he's going to do emergency dental surgery. And like, my God, just so 80s. So like just these bullies that they would have a switchblade. And it's a callback. He basically is like, it's your turn to get wet now. And he's like, what are you talking about, Mike? And he's like, you're going to jump.
Yeah.
I'm counting to, 5 or 10, and you're going to jump off the ledge. And Jeanette was like, oh, it doesn't look that, kind of looks a little shallow. And I'm like, you have to remember that A, it's not, and B, in episode 2, Hopper talks to Callahan about how at that distance and that height, hitting that water would be like cement. You would break every bone in your body. You would basically kill yourself.
Yeah.
And it kind of just shows that Mike is that true of a friend, that even though it would mean death, the bully's still counting down. Dustin's going, no, don't do it.
He steps off that ledge.
He steps off the ledge. And I love the look on the bully's faces, like, shit.
Yeah. Like he lets go of Dustin. They all three run over there together to look like and then, it's giving me chills. But Elle saves the day. Thank God. So Mike is just kind of like suspended in midair as they look down, and she pulls him up with the power of her mind and
sets him down on his
sets him
ass.
down safely.
And I love the look on his face. He's shocked, but Dustin is grinning from ear to ear. And it's that epic sound bite of "she'll kill you," which we do again see in the epic moment in season 4. And she's just marching over. And it's just this wonderful epic music swell of her breaking Troy's arm. And, you know, "She broke my arm, she broke my arm." And she just goes, "Go." And they run off like scared little puppies. And I love that at that exact moment, right? She looks a little weak and she has a flashback, correct?
Yeah. So Dustin actually says like the whole "she's our friend and she'll kill you," which is what the name of that like sound bite is
So
come
good.
from. Yeah. So she passes out like from the effort of it all. And that's when she has another flashback. So she flashes back to when she sees the Demogorgon in the void because they've like put her in the tank and everything, and it's eating something. I don't know what it's eating. Looks disgusting.
Yeah,
But
ew.
she touches it and everything goes to shit basically. So it
Yeah.
starts like rumbling like an earthquake. The wall starts breaking apart at the lab, like, and she wakes up from this like flashback and says like, "It was me, I opened the gate." She tells Mike, "I'm the monster." And then he says that she isn't, that she saved him, and that he like kind of like pulls her up off the ground and they hug. And Dustin, sweet Dustin, like biggest smile on his face, puts himself over the two of them.
Drapes
Like,
himself over them. And it is just, if you ever had to sum up Stranger Things, like
yeah,
that's the heart of the show. And I think like the message behind it is friendship and family and comfort. You know,
yeah,
when people are like, "Oh, this show is my comfort show," I immediately think to that image of them hugging, because that's just such a feel good moment after something so epic and so cool.
yeah, absolutely. Such a good scene. I think this might be one of my favorite episodes.
I agree.
Yeah. And then as the kids head home, we see the people at the lab kind of preparing
Yeah.
to go find Elle because they know that she's back at the Wheeler house.
Yeah.
So that's
So
where
the
we
Gans are getting ready
leave
to
off.
go.
Yeah.
They're headed towards the neighborhood, and it's just the last shot is, you know, them going through the back door into the basement and it shutting, and then that's it. So
Yeah.
you're left on quite the cliffhanger.
And it's so interesting because like they do end these episodes with cliffhangers, but it's not like you have to
Yeah, you have to
like
see.
stop. Like it's basically the why it's so easy to binge this show. I feel like
Yeah.
every episode leaves off and you're like, I need to see what happens next.
hmm And I can't believe that, you know, we're going to obviously do a themed episode next week, but after that, we're doing the last 2 episodes and we are done with season 1, which is incredible.
Yeah. It's been such a fun experience to go back and revisit it in this way. So we hope everyone has been enjoying following along whenever you're
Absolutely.
listening to this too, because who knows, we're recording this on May 27th, 2024. Who knows when you might be listening to this? Like
Never
maybe you're
know.
listening in 2025 because you're getting ready to watch the final season. So
Yep.
if we're talking to you from the past,
Yeah, exactly. Hello. What's going on with filming updates?
I did just see as we were recording this episode, Raw Stuffer shared a story.
Ooh.
It was Millie like recording with Matt Duffer, and then they're like, where's Ross? And Matt is like, oh, he doesn't matter. And Millie's like, yeah, I'm basically the second Duffer brother. It's a
I
really cute little
cannot.
video. Are you looking at it?
I'm looking at it right now. It must have been when they're filming season 4, correct?
Yeah. Because it's like, you know, acknowledging that it's been
It's
2
been 2
years.
years.
Yeah. So
Insane.
that was cute. The one thing I did want to bring up, I did hear, and I think this is just a rumor at this point, But apparently they're gonna make a documentary of,
Ooh.
like, the process of, like, making season 5. Did you hear anything about that?
This is the first time I'm hearing about it, but I'm psyched.
I have to figure out where I heard it, but, like, I do hope that that's true because I would absolutely love that, you know? I'm sure we both would. We, like, nerd out over all of this.
Oh, absolutely. I love a documentary, so that'd be
Yes,
awesome.
exactly, and, like, just getting, like, more I'm hoping we get, like, just more behind the scenes content because, I mean, I think that they know, like, there's so many fans out there that are just so bummed that it's, like, the last season, so as
Yeah.
much, like, behind the scenes content as they wanna give us, like, I'm sure we'll eat it up.
Oh, yeah.
The connection I made was when I finished watching Schitt's Creek, there was a documentary that they made about filming the last season of that,
I love
and
that.
I cried so hard, and I'm not even, like, a huge Schitt's Creek fan, but it was,
Yeah.
like, a fun experience to, like, binge the whole thing, and then it was sad when it was over, and then I watched this, like, documentary about, like, how the cast was sad that it was over and stuff like that,
Aw.
and, like, I was just bawling my eyes out, so you can imagine how I'm gonna
Yeah.
feel with this documentary about season 5, and I'm like, "If we get this documentary, is that gonna have that interview, that lost interview that we've never
Ooh.
seen of Joseph Quinn?"
Yep.
Like, because we've seen little snippets from the cast doing this interview because they did some, like, sort of behind the scenes documentary type content for season 4, and there was this one chair, lamp, table set
Yep.
up that all the cast members were, like, interviewed, and there's a photo of Joseph Quinn in this chair. The video has never appeared.
Which is
So,
shocking.
yeah, it's like the lost interview is what I think of it as.
I love it. I
So,
love it.
maybe it'll be in the documentary, I don't know.
Fingers crossed, you know?
Exactly, so
I did see a few images, I'm not too sure if they are official though, of cars, like, kinda dressed up like they're supposed to be in
Mm,
the
I
upside
think I
down.
think those were official. I think those were
Okay.
officially shared, by the Stranger Things account on Instagram. Not a good day to be a car in Hawkins or something like that
I
is
love
what
that.
it was captioned, and then I guess it was, like, the 100th day of filming, so it's a bunch of the crew, like, dressed up like they were 100 years old. That was cute.
That's amazing.
And they did share okay, I forgot about this. They shared a photo of the 2 cast chairs for Robin and Will, like, kind of
Ooh.
implying that they were gonna have, like, scenes together,
Yeah.
and then we did have the whole debacle with Maya, her script, I guess. She had posted her set list for her show, and it was written on the back of a script, and you could kind of see through, and I think it was probably intentional. Like
That's what a lot of people are saying because, like, I feel like she's extra, extra careful. Like, even Ethan Hawke, her dad, is like, she won't say anything to me. So I think everything is done for a reason. Did she end up taking it
I
down?
think it must have been taking it down because I never saw it officially. I just saw people that had, like, screenshotted it and shared it.
I saw it officially and I was just like, oh, multiple photos from my heart. And I didn't even notice. But people are like the CIA and they were able, even though you're only able to see like through the paper a little bit, they were able to literally like show what the script said.
Yeah,
Holy shit.
yeah,
No big spoilers though, but like some people are like, people have too much time on their hands. And I'm like, well, you have to understand how passionate people are.
yeah,
And if it was on purpose, it's like solving a puzzle and it wasn't any big spoiler or anything. It featured Mike talking a little bit, Robin talking a little bit, and that was it.
yeah.
So I don't know.
Who knows? And also, I think that they could be using, like, code names in these scripts.
You did send me that text. I was
So,
like, oh, okay.
I'm like,
Hmm.
are we really getting all these new characters when they told us we weren't getting new characters, or
Yeah.
are these little placeholder names for
Yeah. You sure about that? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, we'll see, we'll see. I think we've said this before, like, not trying to like super actively avoid spoilers, but we will definitely not be spoiling anything on the
Yep.
show. And also anything that comes out, it's like, I think it's more a theory than a spoiler because who knows? You don't know the
You never know.
context, you don't know the source, you don't know. So
Yep.
I don't think it's worth getting too stressed out about spoilers
No.
either. You said you had some fun things to talk about for merch. Oh, Brandy
Yes.
gave you something. I want to hear.
So, Brady came by and I surprised her with a few treats, and she surprised me with first a huge package of over 100 Stranger Things stickers from Five Below, which I
Oh,
went through every single one, and I even put one on my water bottle. It's Steve from Scoops Ahoy.
nice.
So I was like, oh wow. So then she gave me this really cool, and I'll post a picture of it. Actually, it's on my Instagram and it's season 4, but it's called a concession kit. So it's got like ices, like packages of ices and popcorn and candy, like stuff that you could make into like almost a concession stand box, like at the movies to like snack at.
Nice.
And she got herself one, she got me one, and I had never seen this before. And it's official Stranger Things licensing stuff. So she was like, "Are you going to open it?" I'm like, "No." So I will definitely take better photos and put them on my story. But I love kitschy stuff like that. I have all the baking stuff, the Hellfire brownies, the Wrinkle-Rama skating cookies. So love stuff like that. But I think she got it from Macari. So if people are looking for it, it is around. My friend Mark surprised me. He got it actually up in Canada of the 4-pack of the Stranger
Yeah.
Things battle group, which is Robin, Dustin, Nancy, and Eddie. And Eddie is tinted half blue, half red.
That's so cool.
So I just think it's so cool. I don't think they're available in the United States yet, but definitely keep your eyes open. Everyone was a little bummed that Steve wasn't included, but who knows? Maybe they'll do a 5-pack with our steady Steve, you know, wearing his vest.
I think I've heard people say that we need an Eddie without the guitar because isn't it true that like every single Eddie has the guitar?
Every single one is the same mold.
Yeah.
It's either the original mold of him holding it or him like with his head thrown back.
Yeah.
So it would be interesting. That's why I love my custom one
Yeah.
from In the Dark Customs of him holding his honeycombs and his, you know, chocolate milk. So I do agree. It would be great to see an Eddie that looks a little different. And Brandy asked me, she goes, well, what would be another like wish list of yours? And I said, a beat up Steve in his sailor uniform. I said, we got beat up Steve from season 1. It's going to beat up Steve from season 3.
Yeah.
And there were 2 other things. There was the Advent calendar from Funko.
Oh, yeah. That looks fun.
I was like, that's so expensive. And then I pre-ordered it. I mean, whatever. It had the little Funko mini, and I think they had 11, they had Eddie, and some of them have Santa hats on. So you do the 25 days, so you get 25 mini pops. So that's not that bad. But I was like, oh, that's really kitschy. I'm hoping that I am not a child and I can wait because they're going to ship in July, that I can wait until December. But we all know Stacy. I'll probably rip it open. But between that and then they did the pre-orders for, you know, the new line of pops. And I did pre-order a Chrissy. It is our first official Chrissy pop of her under Vecna's spell. So pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm surprised that they never did the Eddie making like the devil horns.
Right? I'm hoping that that might be a future mold further down.
Yeah.
Because that's like so iconic.
Yeah.
And I've seen people do customs of that. And I'm like, give the people what they want, man.
Right. Exactly.
Come on.
I mean, I feel like that photo was way overused with like Fan Expo and stuff for Joseph Quinn. But I am shocked that like Funko never did that but maybe they will.
I was kind of hoping they'd do Eddie screaming, watching Chrissy get crumbled, but you know, we never know. It could be a future box set. We'll see.
And I would just love just like an Eddie with the Hellfire, like shirt, like just, you know, just standard Eddie, maybe walking through the woods with Steve.
You know, I'm actually all for that. Let's get that. Where's that box set?
Exactly. The two of them together.
Yeah, perfect.
Or, I mean, even do a 4-pack of the 4, like, with Nancy and Robin. Like,
Yeah, because they went through Watergate,
yeah,
like, put them their asses in a canoe,
yeah.
and you know what? I will buy it. Whatever price it is, I will buy it. Boom.
Funko, are you
Yeah.
listening? We
Funko, are you listening?
we
Let's
need
manifest
the
it.
canoe as well.
Yeah, we need the canoe. It
Info.
doesn't count.
I don't think it's actually a canoe.
I know, isn't that bad? If it was a canoe, their asses would definitely have flipped over. Yeah, the boat. We need the boat.
The boat on Lover's Lake. We will be back next week. We have an idea for a super fun themed episode since we haven't done one of those in a while. Then we'll finish up our rewatch. And then we have another special guest lined up. So stay tuned.
Over and out, guys.
Over and out.
Eddie, I'm not sure I like the idea of you driving.
Oh, I'm starting to suck her. Harrington's got her. Don't you, big boy?
And we are back. So
We're back.
here we are for our secret segment, talking all about our love for Steady and fan fiction. So, yeah, what you been reading lately, Stacy?
So I went down a bit of a dark hole.
Oh,
And I read a lot of smut and a lot of mermaid smut.
ooh, yeah, it was like mermaid.
Yeah, mermaid. I was embracing the mermaid. And then there was some with like Steve is a fairy, but he's tiny.
Ooh,
So
I did see
went,
some art for that.
yeah, and you know what? It may sound weird, but it wasn't that bad. I gotta tell you, I was intrigued and I kept reading it. After reading the mermaid and the fairy Steves, I ended up reading Dog Days of Summer by, and I'm going to butcher this name, and they've actually written some stuff that we love. Wasabi.
Poppy?
Yep.
Yeah.
They wrote Dog Days of Summer, and it's like a different AU where basically like Steve, I think he's in Oregon, and it's around the events of season 3, and his parents basically like just leave him there because they, the mom goes on a retreat and the dad has like business to do, and Eddie's like an artist and he starts working with Alexia, which was pretty cool, and Robin at Scoops that's downtown. And I accidentally started reading it chapter 6 onward. So I was like, oh, maybe all the events of like, the show already happened. Only I would start a fucking fan fiction chapter 6 onward, love it. And then I'd go, oh shit, I didn't read 5 other chapters. So I started over and I'm going to read more tomorrow, but it's really, really good. There's just the right amount of smut. It's a really good love story. I love the setting too. It's just like the perfect, like, especially with it beginning to be summer, it's just a really good fic. So I'm enjoying myself.
Yeah, they did, I'm remembering now, they did Late Bloomers. That was one of the authors of Late Bloomers.
That was such a good one.
Yeah.
So I think this is why I'm digging it so much.
Yeah, yeah.
What about you? What are you reading?
So I officially finished Voice Team.
Nice.
That was the podfic event that I was doing the past month. So I did lots of podfics and just fun fandom stuff. And it was a really fun time. So I still have a bunch of stuff that I need to post for that.
Love it.
My favorite thing that I recorded, and I haven't posted it yet, but it's a 3-minute fic. And it's basically the RV scene, but with Steve and Eddie are already a relationship in a relationship. Shit. So there's just like a little twist on that scene. And
I love that.
It's really fun. And I put like music and sound effects and stuff too. So
now, did you already post
look
that?
For that? No, I haven't posted it yet. So yeah, I'll definitely share when I post it. I did read a little bit this week. So I got back into rolled a 1 on the check, rolled a 20 on the save. So I've been reading that. So good.
That I still need to go back to it. The little bit that I did read from that, I absolutely loved it.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
It's so good. I love it so much. A new fic by Pizza Bones.
Oh, cool.
Did you see this fic
No.
that dropped. So I've talked before about my little guilty pleasure trio, which we actually talked about in this episode. So Steve, Eddie, and Tommy.
Oh, girl. Yep.
So this fic is by Pizza Bones. It's called Movie Night.
Ooh.
And it's actually going to be a series. So it's the first one in a series. So it's Steve and Eddie are in Hawkins. They've set up camp and are living in the school. Like everybody's living in the school. And they're out on like, it was giving me like Walking Dead vibes where they're all kind of like living in one place and they have to kind of go out and scout and find like food and find supplies and stuff.
Yeah.
So very like apocalyptic setting in Hawkins. But one day the three of them, and then Tommy shows back up and decides to stay, and they're at Family Video and they're getting some movies to take back so that the kids can watch them at the school, and getting like breaking into the vending machines and getting some snacks and stuff. And at the video store, they find the adult movie section.
Oh, girl. Oh, girl. Okay.
And so they decide to take a few of those home too. And the three of them kind of live in a room together. And you can kind of see where this is going.
Well, I know what I'm reading in the morning. Okay, good to know.
You need me to send you that one right now too?
Yes, please, actually.
So, yeah, absolutely read that immediately.
That sounds real good.
Can't wait for more. That's about it. That's about it. Lots of stuff that I still really want to read. But
same. I got to catch up on a lot of podfics. I got to read a lot of stuff still, but I feel like I'm going to have a little more time pretty soon. So that's one good thing.
I have so much to listen to now because my whole team, voice team, was like a steady team basically, or Stranger Things team at least. And we like made so many fun podfics of Stranger Things fics. And like now I want to listen to all of them. So yeah, now I have so much to listen to, and only 3 more weeks of like having a commute every day until the summer. So I need to like get some podfics.
Exactly.
Oh, wait. I did have one more podfic that I wanted to shout out.
Yeah.
It is a very long podfic. So last weekend, I was really stressed out, was having like some anxiety, and also really needed to like get some stuff done around the house, laundry and stuff. So I was like, I'm going to pick like a nice long podfic to listen to.
That's a good idea.
It's one of my favorite podfic people, Rattle and Hum, who I've talked about before, I think. And she actually is like a, professional audiobook narrator. So I feel like she's so good. And I also talked about Fandom Trumps Hate, that like auction.
Yes.
So this was the podfic that last year she did for Fandom Trumps Hate. And it was actually the author of the fic had made the donation for the Fandom Trumps Hate and got her to do this podfic of their story.
Nice.
But the fic was called I Just Want Your Extra Time and Your Kiss. So it was like a 5+1 story. 5 times Steve almost kissed Eddie, and the 1 time Eddie beat him to it. So kind of a slow burn, like mutual pining situation. It switches back and forth between like Eddie's point of view to Steve's point of view each chapter.
Yeah.
And it's like a getting together story, which I feel like I hadn't read one of those in a while. It was so good, so beautifully written. I definitely want to read more of this author. Beautiful podfic as well.
Nice.
And it like got me through my laundry last weekend, and then I got to listen to it on my commute, and it was just like the highlight of my day, coming and going from work every day. So yeah, it was really great, and definitely either read that or listen to that if you have a chance.
Absolutely. Oh, I'm excited now. I got lots of things to read and listen to.
I know. It's always nice to have that in your back pocket. It definitely makes you feel better and get you through the day.
100%, dude.
Yeah, we're all helping each other get by.
Exactly. Little by little.
Well, it was so good to talk to you. And I hope everyone enjoyed the episode. And as always, reach out to us on social media. Let us know what you've been reading and loving. And yeah, if you've read any of the stories that we talk about, we would always love to hear from you as well. So, all right, I think that's it.
All right, guys. Happy season 4 day and over and out.
Over and out.